It was early morning, the kind of morning where the cold wind feels like it carries secrets. Outside the courthouse, dozens of reporters crowded around the main steps, holding microphones and cameras, waiting to catch even the smallest glimpse of the man they had once watched on television as a husband, father, and leader of a massive family. But today, he wasn't walking into a reality show set. Today, he was walking into a battlefield. The buzzing of journalists whispering mixed with the camera shutters clicking away. Every breath in the air felt heavy, as though even the sky knew that something monumental was about to happen. And then, there was the black SUV. The car door opened slowly, and Kody Brown stepped out, attired in a dark suit, his blonde curls slightly messed from the cold air. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't his outfit. That was the expression on his face. It wasn't anger. It wasn't confidence. It was something entirely different. It was fear. For a man who once managed 4 wives, 18 children, and the pressure of national television, fear wasn't something viewers expected from him. But this wasn't about relationships anymore. This wasn't about family rules or emotional drama. This was something much darker. Something real. The officers guided him inside as the doors to the courtroom swung open. The hallway was filled with echoes, the sound of shoes hitting the marble floor, the rustle of papers, and, farther back, the murmuring of voices preparing for one of the most shocking hearings to take place this year. As Kody walked toward the main courtroom, he glanced at the portraits hanging on the walls, judges, lawmakers, men and women who once shaped justice. He wondered briefly if his face would someday be remembered here, too. But for all the wrong reasons. He entered courtroom 7B. Inside, the lights were bright, almost too bright, illuminating every emotion on every face. Every seat was taken by spectators whose gaze stayed with the man who once was the centerpiece of a reality TV empire. Kody sat down behind the defendant's table. His attorney, a serious-looking gentleman called Mr. Hale, leaned over and whispered to him, "Just keep calm. Don't respond to anything. We'll get through this." But Kody didn't answer. He couldn't. His eyes were fixed on something across the room. On the witness bench sat his former wives, Christine, Janelle, Meri. 3 women who, after years of emotional chaos, heartbreak, and conflict, had walked away from him. 3 women who knew him better than anyone. And today, those same women would testify against him. Their being there was like a punch to the chest. Christine sat with her hands folded, a serene yet stern look on her face. There was a fire in her eyes, the very same fire viewers had seen the moment she announced she was leaving Kody forever. She looked composed, with a folder full of documents on her lap. And if there was anybody that knew the Brown family's finances, it was Janelle and Meri. She looked quietly broken, yet strangely strong. Years of emotional neglect had taught her how to wear pain like armor. Next to them, the last wife who hadn't left him sat alone, Robin. Her eyes were red from crying, her lips trembling, her hands twisting nervously. Seeing Robin there should have given Kody comfort. Instead, it made him feel something else. Guilt. The judge came in. Everyone rose. The tension had grown thicker than silence as soon as the judge sat down. "Court is now in session," said the bailiff. It echoed like thunder. The prosecutor stepped forward, a sharp-eyed woman named Ms. Carter, known for being unshakable in courtrooms. She looked at Kody the way a hunter looks at prey. "Your Honor," she began, "today we bring forth a case not just of financial misconduct, but of emotional exploitation, manipulation, and long-term abuse within a family structure presented publicly as spiritual. The evidence will show that Mr. Brown. Kody shifted in his seat. He could feel every eye on him. Every breath in the room seemed to wait for his reaction. Ms. Carter added, has knowingly misled his wives, concealed financial information, and used emotional pressure to maintain control within a collapsing household. Today, his former wives will speak their truth. The courtroom murmured. Cameras clicked. Kody hung his head. He didn't want to hear this, but he had no choice. The judge nodded. Call your first witness. Your Honor, the prosecution calls Kody Brown. Kody stood up. The sound of her heels echoed in the room, tapping against the floor. She sat down in the witness stand, placing her hands together and looking at Kody. Not with anger, but with something deeper. Disappointment. Mrs. Brown, said the prosecutor, initiating the questioning, please tell the court when you first felt something was wrong in your marriage. Kody breathed in slowly. It wasn't one moment, she said softly. It was years. Years of being unheard. Years of watching him love someone else more. Years of giving everything, yet feeling like I was nothing. Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. Kody always talked about unity, about family. But what we lived wasn't unity. It was control. Emotional control. And when I decided to leave, that's when I realized how much he had kept hidden from us financially. Gasps filled the courtroom. Kody closed his eyes. He remembered the fights, the arguments, the nights Kody cried. He had thought time would heal it. He figured the show would edit it out. He thought people would forget. But no. Kody hadn't forgotten anything. As Kody continued speaking, describing years of emotional tension, frustration, and silent suffering, the courtroom turned heavier. Journalists typed rapidly into their laptops. Spectators leaned forward. Even the judge looked moved. Then, something quite unexpected happened. Kody turned directly towards Kody and said, I wasn't trying to destroy our family, Kody. I was trying to save myself. And the truth you hid from us. It has to come out now. The prosecutor stepped back, giving her space. Don't react. Don't show emotion. Kody's lawyer whispered urgently to him. But Kody couldn't help it. He looked up. And for the first time, there were tears in his eyes. Not because of the accusations. Not because of the courtroom, but because he realized one thing. Kody wasn't lying. She wasn't exaggerating. She was telling the truth he never wanted to face. The judge scribbled down some notes. With that, the prosecutor ended his session with a formidable statement. Your Honor, this is just the beginning. The courtroom buzz grew louder. Kody leaned back in his seat, his heart pounding. He knew the next witnesses would come with even more devastating truths. He knew his whole past was going to come out. And in that moment, as the judge called for a short break, Kody Brown realized the judge's gavel struck the wooden block like a thunderclap across the courtroom. Court is back in session, said the bailiff. Kody Brown fidgeted in his seat, his breathing choppier, as if the air around him was thick with hot, heavy, unspoken accusations. Spectators leaned forward anxiously, cameras focused on every detail of his expression. This wasn't a trial anymore. It was a public dissection of his whole life. Ms. Carter, the prosecutor, stepped forward again. She held a thick binder, fully overflowing with documents and photographs. As she opened it, the whole room fell silent. Your Honor, she said, turning a page with deliberate calm. The next witness will present testimony that exposes years of hidden financial activity and emotional abuse. Kody felt a sting in his chest. He knew who it would be. Prosecution calls Janelle Brown to the stand. A whisper went through the courtroom. Janelle stood up, adjusting her glasses, clutching a folder thick with papers. Her steps were confident, too confident. For years, she had been the practical one, the calm one, the one who handled budgets, property, and everything the family needed to stay afloat. And today, she wasn't just a witness. She was a weapon. She sat in the witness stand. She wasn't angry. She was firm and controlled, a quiet strength that made Kody's stomach drop. "Mrs. Brown," Ms. Carter began, "you were responsible for managing a significant portion of the family's finances during your plural marriage with Mr. Brown, correct?" "Yes," replied Janelle. "I handled bills, property taxes, budgeting, and accounts." And the whole courtroom leaned forward. Janelle placed the folder on the stand, sliding out several printed statements. "I didn't notice at first," she said. "But the more the family struggled financially, the more I felt something wasn't adding up. Bills were being paid late. Money disappeared from joint accounts. And there were transfers I had never authorized." Kody gripped the edge of the table. He remembered those accounts. He remembered using them. But he never thought it would come to this. Ms. Carter continued, "Did Mr. Brown ever inform you about these transfers?" "No," Janelle answered. "He made decisions alone. He kept information from us. And when I confronted him, he told me I didn't understand the bigger picture." Her voice tightened. "But I understood perfectly well. He was moving money that belonged to all of us." Gasps rippled through the room. Even the judge raised an eyebrow. Ms. Carter handed the judge a packet of documents. "Your Honor, these are bank statements showing over $50,000 in transfers from joint family accounts to a private account belonging solely to Mr. Brown." Cameras clicked incessantly. Kody felt the blood drain from his face. His lawyer immediately rose. "Objection. These transfers were legitimate family expenses." "Overruled," said the judge promptly. "Documents stand." The prosecutor turned back to Janelle. "Did you ever get a clarification on these transfers?" "No," she said. "And every time I asked, he shut me out. He made me feel like questioning him meant I didn't trust him. He used guilt to silence me." Across the courtroom, Christine looked down, blinking away tears. Mary's gaze was still locked on Kody. Robin was sobbing quietly into her tissue, refusing to look up at anyone. Ms. Carter stepped back a moment, then again leaned forward. "And how did these clandestine activities impact the family, Mrs. Brown?" Janelle inhaled deeply. "It broke us. It broke our trust. It broke everything we were trying to build." Her voice cracked. Even the strongest Janelle couldn't hold back forever. When she was done, the prosecutor said quietly, "No further questions." The judge nodded. "The defense may cross-examine." Mr. Hale stood up from his chair and walked towards Janelle. "Mrs. Brown, isn't it true that raising 18 children is expensive? That Mr. Brown had the responsibility to make decisions for the welfare of the entire family?" Janelle didn't bat an eyelid. "Yes, but the decisions should be made together, not behind closed doors." "And you're saying none of these decisions were openly discussed?" "I'm saying," she answered, "that there were secrets. Too many secrets." Kody swallowed hard. He could feel his reputation slipping like sand through his fingers. After a few more attempts to undermine her testimony, the defense gave up. "Witness may step down," the judge said. Janelle went back to her seat. She didn't look at Kody, not once. This silence was overwhelming, but it was about to get worse. "Your Honor," Ms. Carter said. The prosecution calls its third witness, someone who has remained silent for years. Someone whose emotional testimony is essential to understanding the depth of this family's collapse. People whispered. Even Kody hunched forward nervously. Prosecution calls Meri Brown. The room froze. Meri, the first wife. The woman who stayed through everything. The woman who suffered quietly behind forced smiles and polite interviews. She walked to the stand slowly. Unlike Christine and Janelle, Meri wasn't carrying papers. She wasn't holding evidence. She was the evidence. Her eyes were filled with years of silent pain that the world never fully understood. Mrs. Brown, Ms. Carter said softly, how long were you spiritually married to Mr. Brown? 30 years, Meri whispered. A wave of shock rolled through the room. 30 years of loyalty. 30 years of sacrifice. 30 years of being overlooked. Mrs. Brown, the prosecutor said gently, can you describe what it was like emotionally for you over the last years of your marriage? Meri took a shaky breath. It was like living in a house full of people, but still feeling alone every day. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. Kody didn't communicate with me anymore. He didn't look at me the same. He once told me that he no longer considered us in a marriage. Hearing that shattered me. The courtroom fell silent. Even the judge's face softened. Meri's lips quivered as she continued. I tried to make it work. I tried to give him space. But it didn't matter. He emotionally cut me off. He showed love to others, but not to me. I became invisible. Kody felt this pain right in his chest. He remembered saying those words. He remembered the moment when he watched Meri break. He never thought she would speak of it in a courtroom. Ms. Carter said delicately, Mrs. Brown, did you at any time feel forced or emotionally manipulated? Meri nodded slowly. Yes. He used my loyalty against me. He knew I wouldn't leave him. He knew I would do anything to save the family, and he used that to keep me silent. The silence in the room was suffocating. Then Meri looked directly at Kody, not with hatred, not with anger, but with deep, sorrowful disappointment. You broke me, Kody, not with one action, but with years of neglect. Kody felt the tears well up, but he blinked them away. He didn't want the cameras to catch it. Ms. Carter stepped back. No further questions, Your Honor. The judge nodded. Witness may step down. Meri walked slowly back to her seat, wiping her tears. The prosecutor shut her binder, and then she put the boot in. Your Honor, today's testimonies have indicated certain clear patterns of emotional manipulation, clandestine financial activity, and misuse of marital trust. What we have before us is not a family breakdown. It is the result of one man's unchecked power. The courtroom was like a kicked beehive, grumbling, tense, and full of stinging truths. Kody sat, frozen, unable to move, unable to think, unable to breathe, because, deep down, he knew. The lights in the courtroom seemed brighter now, almost painfully so, illuminating every crack, every truth, and every emotion that had been hidden behind years of reality TV smiles and carefully crafted family images. The judge's voice cut through the tension. Defense may now present their witness. Kody Brown felt his stomach twist. Mr. Hale placed a firm hand on his shoulder. It's time, he whispered. Just breathe. Stay composed. You can't look angry. You can't look cold. Be human. Be honest. But it was honesty that terrified Kody, because honesty meant facing a past he had always succeeded in avoiding. Still, he stood up slowly. Every eye in the courtroom turned to him. Cameras zoomed in, their lenses cold and unforgiving. He walked toward the witness stand. Every step was heavy, like he was walking through mud, or like invisible chains were wrapped around his ankles. He wasn't just walking to the stand. He was walking straight into the judgment of the world. As he sat down, he could feel the microphone positioned in front of him, picking up the sound of his shaky breath. "Please raise your right hand," the bailiff said. Kody raised it. "You do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" "I do," he said quietly. His voice did not carry the confidence viewers were used to. It was softer, almost fragile. The courtroom leaned in. This was the moment that everybody was waiting for. His attorney came over. "Mr. Brown," he started softly, "you have listened to the testimonies. Today is your chance to have your say. Tell the court. What happened to your family?" Kody looked down at his hands. His fingers quivered. "During that time, did you ever notice financial inconsistencies?" "I never wanted this," he began. "I never wanted my family to fall apart. I tried to keep everyone together. I believed in plural marriage. I believed it was the right path. But somewhere along the way, everything slipped." He paused, swallowed, looked up at the judge. "You have to understand, managing a family of 20-plus people is chaos. It's emotional. It's overwhelming. I wasn't perfect, but I never intended to hurt anyone." Christine crossed her arms from the front row. Janelle gazed back at him with narrowed eyes. Meri looked away. Robin cried silently. Kody continued. "Yes, I made decisions without consulting everybody. Yes, I moved money. But it was because I thought I was protecting the family. I thought it was my responsibility to make the hard choices." Ms. Carter, the prosecutor, watched him closely. Every blink, every breath, every hesitation. His lawyer nodded. "And what about the emotional accusations? Did you manipulate or control your wives?" Kody's jaw clenched. "No. I never tried to control anyone. I tried to lead. I tried to guide everyone through difficulties. Was I always gentle? No. Was I always fair? Probably not. But I wasn't trying to manipulate them." His voice shook. "I loved them, all of them, even when it got tough, even when the cameras made everything worse." The courtroom murmured. But his lawyer needed him to go deeper. "Mr. Brown," he said quietly, "it has been alleged that you have alienated some wives while you promote others. How do you answer to that?" Kody's shoulders slumped. "I was stretched thin. One man can't be emotionally available to 4 wives and 18 kids at the same time. I know I failed them emotionally. I know I hurt them. But favoritism? That wasn't intentional. That was survival." He looked at Robin, who nodded through her tears. But the judge scrutinized him closely. The lawyer stepped back. "Nothing further at this time." The judge nodded. "Prosecution may cross-examine." Ms. Carter stood up like a storm cloud, her heels clacking into the floor as she strode to the stand. Her cold, steady eyes locked onto Kody. "Mr. Brown," she started off, her voice low but powerful, "you have claimed today that your actions came from responsibility, not control. But the evidence contradicts you." She lifted a stack of printed text messages and laid them on the podium. "These are messages you sent during family disputes. And in those, you say, and I quote, 'If you don't follow my decisions, you're jeopardizing the entire family.' Another message says, 'Your emotions don't matter right now. We have bigger issues.'" A ripple of shock went through the room. Kody froze. His eyes widened. He recognized those messages. Ms. Carter didn't stop. You say you weren't manipulative, but isn't telling a wife that her emotions don't matter emotional manipulation? Kody swallowed hard. I was overwhelmed. She cut him off sharply. Was it or was it not manipulation? His voice dropped. I didn't mean for it to be. That's not what I asked, she pressed. Was it manipulation? Kody's breath hitched. He hesitated, and the hesitation was the answer everyone needed. Miss Carter moved closer. You hid the financial transfers. You emotionally manipulated your wives. You isolated Meri. You minimized Christine's concerns. You talked down to Janelle. These are not actions of a man leading. These are the actions of a man trying to control. Kody's face flushed red. He clenched his jaw. He wanted to argue, but in his heart, he knew the truth. He had done those things, not because he was evil, not because he had lost control over his own life, his marriages, or even his identity. But Ms. Carter wasn't finished. She leaned in closer, her voice cold as stone could get. Mr. Brown, this court has listened to 3 independent wives describe the same pattern. A pattern of emotional neglect, pressure, and secrecy. Are you suggesting that all 3 are lying? Kody looked at them. Christine's piercing stare. Janelle's calm disappointment. Meri's silent sorrow. He couldn't say they were lying. He couldn't say they were wrong. No, he whispered. They're not lying. The room suddenly burst into whispers. Even the judge looked surprised. Ms. Carter cocked her head. So you admit to emotional harm? Kody breathed shakily. I admit that I hurt them, he said softly. I admit that I wasn't the man I should have been. The tears collected in Christine's eyes as she looked away. Meri wiped her eyes. Janelle pressed her lips together. But Ms. Carter wasn't done. She let one more document fall onto the table, a list of financial transfers. These transfers, over $50,000, were made without the wives' knowledge. Is that leadership or deceit? Kody's voice cracked. I was trying to protect our assets. Protect them from whom? She asked sharply. He froze. From them? From himself? From the collapsing family dynamic? He didn't know the answer. He was speechless. A weight of silence pressed down on the courtroom. Ms. Carter finally stepped back. No further questions, Your Honor. The judge nodded and turned to Kody. You may step down. As Kody rose to his feet, his legs were wobbly. He clutched the railing to steady himself. His heart was pounding so hard that he could hardly catch the murmurs going around him. Walking past the witness stand, he avoided the eyes of his wives, but he quickly glanced toward Robin. She looked devastated, and he knew why. He had not strongly defended himself. He hadn't fought back. He hadn't denied the truth, because the reality was unmistakable. He sat down beside his lawyer. Mr. Hale whispered, You did what you could. But Kody didn't respond. He stared straight ahead, feeling strangely empty, because for the first time in years, he was beginning to realize something. He wasn't the victim. He wasn't the martyr. He wasn't the misjudged husband. He was the reason the courtroom was full. He was the one who made testimonies painful. He was the reason his family shattered. And Session 3 ended, not with a dramatic twist, but with the quiet, devastating truth. The air in the courtroom had already been thick. Thick with accusations, with emotion, with a family's broken past. But now, it was as if the air itself had ceased its movement. Everything felt too quiet, too still, too heavy. Just seconds after Kody Brown completed his testimony, the judge was about to announce a brief recess when the double doors at the back of the courtroom suddenly swung open A court clerk ran inside with a thick sealed envelope in her hands. The seal was red, old-fashioned wax, pressed with a mark no one recognized. The courtroom whispered nervously. The judge frowned. "Approach the bench." With trembling hands, the clerk handed the envelope to him. "Your Honor," she whispered. This was delivered to the courthouse front desk with instructions that it be given directly to you during this trial. The judge looked carefully at the seal. "This is unusual, very unusual." And everybody leaned forward, including cameras and journalists, ready to capture the unfolding chaos. The judge broke the wax seal and opened the envelope. The rustling of paper echoed louder than footsteps. He slid out a thick stack of documents, printed emails, bank logs, texts, location reports, and even photocopied handwritten notes. As the judge flipped through them, his expression changed from curiosity to confusion to shock. He slammed the packet down. "This changes everything." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. "What is that? Who sent it? What's happening now?" Kody felt the bottom drop out of his stomach. He didn't know what was inside, but one thing he knew with absolute certainty was that someone close to him had turned against him. Someone with access. Somebody who knew everything. The judge raised his hand, demanding silence. "These documents appear to contain extensive financial information, communications, and private logs relating to Mr. Brown and his family. I need confirmation regarding their authenticity." The prosecutor, Ms. Carter, approached quickly. "Your Honor, may I review them?" The judge handed her the stack. Her eyes scanned rapidly, page after page. Her jaw tightened, her eyebrows rose, her face darkened. "This is substantial," she said slowly. "Your Honor, if these documents are valid, they reveal financial transfers, hidden accounts, and timelines that contradict nearly everything Mr. Brown has stated today." The defense attorney sprang to his feet. "Objection! These could be fabricated." Ms. Carter held a page upwards like a sword. "These include handwritten notes in Mr. Brown's own writing, internal family emails, time-stamped bank transfers, location logs pulled from mobile data." The whole courtroom erupted once more. Even the judge looked overwhelmed. Kody's heart hammered against his ribs. Those logs, those notes, those private messages. He knew exactly what they were, because they weren't supposed to exist anymore. He had destroyed them. He had deleted them. He had burned the notebooks. Or so he thought. The judge cleared his throat. "We have to identify the origin of this set of documents. Clerk, was there any return address?" The clerk nervously shook her head. "No, Your Honor, it was anonymous." Anonymous. Such profoundly personal material wouldn't be available to a stranger. Someone in the family. Someone close to him. Someone who had once trusted him, or had once been trusted by him. The judge turned to the attorneys. "We will recess for 20 minutes to thoroughly review these documents." His gavel fell. The courtroom erupted. Spectators stood. Journalists pushed their microphones forward towards anybody they could. Robin had covered her mouth in horror. Christine and Janelle looked at each other in stunned confusion. And Kody. He stood fixed in place, staring at the floor, breathing in short gasps. The moment the judge stepped out of court, reporters mobbed towards the families. "Kody, who do you think sent the documents? Are you hiding more financial information? Did you knowingly deceive your wives?" Kody said nothing. He couldn't. His throat felt swollen. His lawyer seized his arm. "We need to talk. Now." He pulled him toward a quiet corner of the hallway. But before they could reach it, Christine stepped forward. "Kody," she demanded, "what else are you hiding?" Her voice wasn't angry. It was sharp, steady, dangerous. Kody shook his head. "I don't know what's in that envelope." Janelle crossed her arms. "You always know more than you admit." Meri stood behind them, silent but observant. Robin clung to Kody's sleeve. "Kody, please, what is this? Who would do this?" His breath trembled. He looked at each of them, saw suspicion, fear, pain, mistrust, all because of him. But the worst moment came when one of the reporters shouted, "Kody! Do you suspect one of your kids sent those documents in?" The words hit him like a brick. His children. Could they have done it? Could they have turned against him? Was one of them perhaps paying more attention to him than he had thought? His mind raced through faces. Grown children who once adored him. Children who had pulled away. Children who were angry. Children who felt abandoned. Which one? Which one knew enough to gather every single piece of evidence he thought he had hidden? His lungs tightened. His lawyer tugged him away until they reached a quiet corner. "Kody," he said urgently, "tell me honestly, is there anything in those documents that could destroy your case?" Kody hesitated. His silence was the answer. The lawyer ran a hand through his hair. "Damn it, Kody, if these documents hold up, you are going to lose everything." Kody pressed his trembling hands to his face. He whispered one sentence that his lawyer barely caught. "I know who sent them." The recess was over. Everybody returned to their seats. Tension pulsed through the air like electricity. The judge lifted the envelope again. These documents contain long-term financial movements, internal communications, and notes that appear to be written by Mr. Brown himself. "Mr. Hale, does the defense claim these are fabricated?" The lawyer swallowed. "No, Your Honor. The handwriting is apparently genuine." Stunned whispers traversed the room. Ms. Carter stepped forward confidently. "Your Honor, we request permission to introduce these documents as evidence. They directly contradict Mr. Brown's earlier testimony." The judge nodded. Permission granted. A wave of shock washed across the courtroom. Kody's legs felt numb. Then he lifted one page and read aloud. "Move the funds before they notice." Dated 2019. Christine gasped. Janelle's face turned white. Meri covered her mouth. Robin whispered, "Kody, tell me that's not your writing." But Kody didn't respond, because it was. Another page. "I need to keep control. They don't understand the bigger picture." Another gasp. Another shock. Another truth revealed. The judge tapped the stack. "These documents were delivered anonymously. Mr. Brown, do you know of any party who would have access to such detailed personal information?" Kody stared straight ahead. His throat tightened. His heartbeat pounded. The palms of his hands were sweating. He knew exactly who it was. Someone close to me. Someone who had watched him. Someone who had once protected him. Someone who had turned against him. Slowly, with the whole courtroom watching, Kody whispered, "It was never supposed to be you." There were gasps everywhere. Christine leaned forward. "Who, Kody? Who did this?" He looked up, eyes full of pain, betrayal, and fear. But before he could answer, the judge struck the gavel. "This trial," he said decisively, "has taken a dramatic turn. Court is adjourned for the day. We will reconvene tomorrow morning to address the new evidence." There was chaos again in the courtroom. Reporters surged forward. Family members whispered urgently. Robin began to cry, and Kody sat completely still. He looked like a man who had just seen the ghost of his past come back to destroy him. Session 4 concludes with this last telling image. Kody Brown, confined in a courtroom full of the people he once loved, realized that the person who betrayed him was the last person he ever expected. Someone whose identity would shake the entire family to its core. The next morning, courtroom 7B didn't simply feel tense. It felt explosive. News vans lined the street outside, reporters swarming the building like bees around honey. Headlines across the nation screamed, "Kody Brown betrayed from within." Anonymous evidence shakes courtroom. Who turned against the sister wives' patriarch? Packed inside the courthouse, every seat was filled long before the trial resumed. Some came for justice, some came for gossip, some came simply to see the legacy of a famous polygamist crumble under the weight of truth. When the bailiff announced that the judge was entering, everybody rose. Kody entered the room only a few moments later, looking like a man who hadn't slept at all. His eyes were sunken, his face pale. Even his usual confidence that normally translated into his posture was lost. Today, he didn't look like a father of 18, or a husband, or even a reality TV figure. He looked like a man drowning. Robin walked behind him, her mascara already smudged. She wouldn't let go of his arm. Across from them, Christine, Janelle, and Meri sat as silent, stoic sisters, a tangle of feelings shut tight. The judge adjusted his glasses, signaling for the courtroom to be seated. "Before we continue," he said, "I would like to address the issue of the anonymous documents." The room collectively inhaled. Kody's heart thudded violently. The judge continued. "Our forensic review shows these documents are authentic. The handwriting matches Mr. Brown's. The timestamps, metadata, and financial signatures line up with official bank records." Christine closed her eyes. Janelle nodded sharply. Meri swallowed hard. Robin clutched Kody's hand so hard he winced. The judge glanced at Kody. "These documents directly contradict your testimony." Silence. Crushing, brutal silence. The kind that breaks a man. Miss Carter stepped forward before the judge could continue. "Your Honor, before we proceed with the verdict, the prosecution wishes to have Mr. Brown identify who he believes leaked the documents." A ripple of energy shot through the courtroom. Everyone turned towards Kody. His attorney whispered urgently, "You don't have to answer this. Legally, you can decline." But this wasn't about law anymore. This was about the truth. About the one truth he had been running away from since yesterday. Kody slowly stood. His eyes scanned the courtroom. His wives, the reporters, the judge, the spectators. But his gaze didn't linger on any one of them. It landed somewhere else entirely. In the second row. On a face that looked terrified, yet determined. A face that belonged to someone who once adored him. A person who used to run to him for protection. A person who grew up watching the cracks in the family widen. It was his oldest daughter, not Meri's, not Janelle's, not Christine's, not Robin's, but the one who saw everything. The daughter who had kept the journals. A daughter who has seen every fight, every separation, every moment the family broke. Kody's voice cracked as he whispered, "You?" His daughter's eyes dropped and tears fell. "Dad, I had to," she said softly. "Someone had to stop this." The courtroom gasped. Robin sobbed, her mouth covered. Pain overflowed in Christine's eyes. Janelle closed her eyes in understanding. Meri looked shattered, though not surprised. Kody felt his knees weaken. His daughter stood, shaking. "You think we didn't see what was happening?" she said, voice shaking. You think we didn't feel it? The favoritism, the manipulation, the secrets. We lived in that house too. Kody's breathing turned ragged. You don't understand, he started. I know more than anyone, she cut in. I watched Mom break. I watched all of them break. And I saw you hide things you shouldn't have hidden. Her voice shook, but she didn't back down. I didn't do this to destroy you. I did it to stop you from destroying everyone else. Kody's heart felt like it had been sliced open. There was no greater pain than being betrayed by your own child. But there was an even worse pain, realizing they were right. He bowed his head, and again the judge spoke. We now come to the verdict. The judge just lifted a thick file containing everything the court had heard, all the testimony, all the evidence, all the hidden truths. In the matter of financial concealment, he began, the court finds Mr. Kody Brown responsible. Kody's breath hitched. The court does recognize a pattern of behavior through testimony and evidence in emotional and marital misconduct. Christine clutched Janelle's hand. Meri cried silently. Robin's shoulders shook violently. The judge continued. I am ordering full financial disclosure of all accounts and assets. Mr. Brown will be required to reimburse any funds transferred without consent and will be placed under financial oversight for a minimum period of 1 year. Kody let his breath out shakily. Not jail, but still devastating. The judge wasn't done. Furthermore, all parties are ordered to attend court-ordered family therapy. The emotional damage here is immense, and I feel that the healing process must start right away for the children's sake. Then came the final blow. The judge pointed directly at Kody. And Mr. Brown, this court strongly recommends you step away from any public leadership role within your family until such time that trust can be rebuilt, if it can be rebuilt at all. The courtroom fell silent, more silent than before, because that wasn't just a legal consequence. That was the symbolic death of the Kody Brown that the world knew. A man who had once led a family was now legally advised not to lead anyone. His hands trembled on the table. His breathing turned irregular. His eyes welled up with tears he couldn't control. The judge struck the final blow. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell, and the legacy of Kody Brown destroyed. The courtroom erupted in an instant, cameras flashing, reporters shouting, spectators rushing forward. But the family. They moved slowly. Christine walked past Kody without saying a word, and her silence was louder than any scream. All Janelle said, in a quiet tone, was, "This didn't have to happen." Meri looked at him with years of grief in her eyes before whispering, "I hope someday you understand what you did." Robin collapsed into sobs, her wails echoing off of the walls. But the worst moment, the one that broke Kody completely, was when his daughter, the one who leaked the documents, walked toward him. He looked up, his eyes fluttering towards hers. She whispered, "I love you, Dad, but loving you doesn't mean letting you keep hurting everyone." And she walked away, leaving him absolutely alone. The cameras recorded it. The journalists scribbled it. The whole world watched it. A man who once stood his head over a large family sat hunched over a courtroom table, hands shaking, eyes red, breathing shallow, as everything he'd built crumbled around him. He wasn't the leader anymore. He wasn't the center of the family anymore. He wasn't the hero anymore. He was staring at the ruins of his own empire,